Jeremy Sochan might be the least effective player in the NBA. How is Jeremy Sochan in the NBA? He's the worst player I've ever seen. Is Jeremy Sochan the dumbest player to ever play in the NBA? These were just a few of the things said about Jeremy Sochan during last year's NBA season. And when I say there were just a few of the things said, there were thousands upon thousands of comments, posts, and even videos slandering Jeremy Sochan and effectively saying he's not an NBA level player. Well, I'm here to tell you guys, Jeremy Sochan isn't actually the worst or dumbest player in the NBA. In fact, at just 21 years old, there are a lot of signs that suggest he could be a really good NBA player in the future. Because if you just removed the hate and preconceived ideas that social media has given you about Sochan, this is a 6'8", versatile defensive wing who can handle the ball, playmake, has improved his shooting, and plays with intensity on almost every single possession. Just take this play for example, where even with the Hawks up 28 points on the Spurs, off the rebound, Sochan is full court pressing Murray, forcing the turnover before driving, kicking it out to Jones before Johnson takes an open three, which Sochan is there to rebound. It's not just the hustle either. He has legitimate skill on the defensive side of the floor. Like on this play where he picks up Trae Young, he initially shifts his hips anticipating the Okongwu screen, but watch him read Trae Young, poking the ball away with that length before running the floor, spinning off Trae, and finding Wemby for the dunk. That's just a glimpse of what Sochan can do. Not exactly the kind of play that you would associate with the worst player in the NBA. But we should talk about the reason NBA fans have so much hate and such a strong opinion of Jeremy Sochan. Because when you look at the numbers, when you look at where he was drafted, it doesn't make sense that people would care this much about him. But there are two reasons why people do. One of the reasons is he's a troll, and has trolled some of the biggest players and fan bases in the NBA. The other reason is the Point Sochan experiment. If you aren't familiar, earlier in the year, Greg Popovich decided to play Sochan as a point guard, a position he's never played in his entire life, and that led to some rough stretches of play, including times where he would miss Wemby on lobs or duck in opportunities, causing people to suggest he hated Wemby or was jealous of him. No, he was just a forward playing as a point guard for the first time in his life. But I think it's safe to say that experiment is over with the additions of Chris Paul and Stephon Castle. What I will say, however, is it might not be a huge negative like some people saw it as in the moment, because sure, it hurt the Spurs during the season, but it's going to prove to be beneficial for Sochan's development, getting those extra ball handling and playmaking reps. And it's not like Greg Popovich just decided to spin a wheel at practice that would decide who would be the point guard of that season. Sochan has point guard traits as a forward, like on this play where Keldon gives the ball up to him. Collins sets the back screen for Keldon, and look at the weight of the pass on that lob. Or here where he runs the pick and roll with Wemby and utilizes his downhill threat to draw Okongwu before dropping it off to Wemby, who does Wemby things. I think it's pretty obvious Sochan at this stage in his career doesn't have enough ball handling or playmaking ability to be a true point guard. But when you look at him as a point forward, all of a sudden those playmaking and handling skills go from a negative to a clear positive. Then there's his scoring. If you were to just look at the numbers and efficiency, it doesn't exactly stand out. But when you're evaluating a 21-year-old who just finished his second year in the league, you have to go a bit deeper than just the box score. And what should give people hope of Sochan continuing to improve as a scorer is we've already seen some serious developments. And there's no better example of that than his shooting, going from 25% in year one to 31% last season. And even more impressively than that is he shot 77% from the line, which is crazy when you consider prior to his switch to one-handed free throws, Sochan was shooting 43% from the line. The fact he was willing to make such a drastic change to his form, which everyone laughed at, and now his free throw shooting isn't far off from being elite, that's the kind of improvement that makes me believe he has another level to reach as a shooter, and I hope he does reach that level, because the beauty of having a solid jump shot is it just opens up the floor for everyone, including himself. Like on this play where the Hornets defender closes out way too aggressively, so Jeremy leverages that by attacking him before stopping on a dime and casually hitting hitting the fadeaway jumper? Or how about on this play where he gets the pass from Trey, fakes out the Wizards defender before getting into the paint and dropping a soft hook in? And what I like about Sochan's game is he does a lot of his best work without the ball in his hands. Like here where Wemby gets the ball just inside the arc, and with Portland in a zone, Sochan gets to the soft spot at the free throw line, and look at the smooth turnaround jumper. This is without mentioning his transition scoring, where you see his physical traits really stand out, with his ability to take the ball coast to coast in very few dribbles, often showing off nice touch at the rim as well. Sochan is by no means a finished product on offense, but the way people were talking about him would make you believe he's someone who can't shoot, can't pass, can't handle, can't finish, and is effectively just the most useless player ever. Those people are incredibly dumb. You know who's not dumb, however? Well, actually, I don't know if that's the best segue, but at the very least, Patrick Beverley knows a fair bit about basketball. And this is what he said about Jeremy Sochan.
Every blue moon, like, you get a superstar out of nowhere. I mean, like, people didn't think Kawhi Leonard was gonna be a superstar when he first came to the NBA. He gives me those vibes.
Whoa.
Yeah, he's tough. Camp punk order is so high.
And from Pat Bev's perspective, I can see why he thinks Sochan can be a special player, because those things he's talking about with his motor, his intensity, and his willingness to do the little things, those traits are often associated with guys like Pat Bev, who are smaller, less physically gifted players that need to do that just to stay in the NBA. Jeremy Sochan has special athletic traits, yet also has the intangibles that you see from players without those traits. It's a reason why he's compared himself to the likes of Draymond Green and Dennis Rodman, which to me is a huge positive, because often players are obsessed with comparing themselves or modeling their games on guys like Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan, LeBron James. Not everyone can be as skilled as those guys, but there are very few players in NBA history who have impacted winning like Rodman and Draymond. And to me, that's still where his potential lies, because he has such a rare combination of size, agility, and strength, paired with really good instincts on that end of the floor. Just look at him here initially do a good job of guarding Jeremy Grant on the drive. He kicks it to Brogdon, and Sochan just hangs in the paint for a second, knowing he can close out on Grant if that pass is made, but covering the dunker's spot, and that's exactly what he does, tipping the Brogdon pass for the turnover. Or in this play where he initially helps over on the Towns drive, forcing the pass, before then quickly turning his head and blocking Naz Reid at the rim. That's the same guy who I showed you picking up DeJounte Murray and Trae Young and picking their pockets. That's not the kind of versatility you see very often. And the idea of having someone like this next to Wemby, not to mention Stephon Castle and Devin Vassell, it's scary. And in fact, I made a video talking about just how good this Spurs defense could look, so feel free to check that out. Feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Either way, have a very great day. Bye.